What's better than finding dollar books at your favorite dollar bin diving spot? Finding those same books for just 50 cents a piece. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Chris, and this is Northgarden Comics. Today's haul comes from my favorite dollar bin spot in my area. The store is called Pulp Comics and Games. They're located in Mankato, Minnesota, and I'll put a link to their information down below in case you're in the area and you want to check them out. But they have a tremendous selection of newer books for filling in the runs that I'm working on that are more current, as well as books that go all the way back to Bronze Age, and you can find some real gems in there. And so I like to get down there, as often as I can, which is not as often as I'd like. But today's haul is even better because these are not dollar books. Pulp Comics actually, for this one weekend, hosted a 50% off sale of all their dollar books. So all the books you're going to see today actually only cost 50 cents. And normally I'd say, what's better than a dollar book? Well, a 50-cent book is better than a dollar book. And there's a whole stack of goodness here to be able to share with you. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Kicking things off here, we've got this one issue of this three-part limited series called The Untold Legend of the Batman. Never even saw this before, but it looked really cool, so I grabbed it. It's smaller than your normal size single issue, and what this is, you can see down here at the bottom, this little mark here says a special MPI audio edition. And what I read was that back in like 1980, there was a three-part limited series in comic book form of The Untold Legend of the Batman. And then I think this was like 1985 or 86, somewhere around there. They did reprints, but they were smaller and it was packaged with an audio cassette. So sadly, no audio cassette for this issue that I picked up, but still really cool because it's just a cool 80s Batman book. It does have a pretty significant crease down the center there, but at 50 cents, that's just a fine, fun pickup. That's a cool silhouetted Batman image on the back as well. But that's the first thing I found there. Next up, I found this three-part limited series called Valkyrie. This is not Valkyrie as in Jane Foster or the Marvel, any of the, people that have gone by the name Valkyrie before. This is part of the Airboy character universe world. I really don't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about this limited series either. This turns out to be the second limited series under the title of Valkyrie around, again, mid-80s. I don't know if there's a year on any of these covers here. It's like 86 or 87, maybe even 88. Yeah, it actually looks like, anniversary of Eclipse Comics, 1978 to 1988. There was a similar volume before this, and this one's the lesser popular of the two, but still, for 50 cents a piece, that was a fun little pickup there. I found a couple ashcan editions. This one on the left I actually had already in a different cover. So look at that. They did variants even for some of these ashcans. This is a little comic that came out previewing the Age of Apocalypse that was getting ready to kick off. So Professor X is dead, and then it shows you the different titles, what they were retitled to for this Age of Apocalypse era, and that's one of my favorite X-Men events of all time. So happy to have found that. And then there's this other one from a little bit earlier. This is 1994. This is Generation X, and you've got Chris Bacalo art there. And yeah, just a fun little ashcan. I like to pick these up when I find them. All right, now hold on to your seats because the next several books was just super fun to find. I am and have been and always will be a massive Transformers fan. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you've heard me say that Transformers is the title, franchise, property that got me into comic books to begin with. I started with the cartoon and the toys and then graduated into the comics, and then that was just my gateway into all of comicdom, and I've been collecting ever since the late 80s when I first got into these guys here. And at the sale, they had a lot of Transformers books that I never see in the wild. And the first several books here come from this Transformers Prime era of stories. This is, besides the Generation 1 cartoon and movie that got me into these characters to begin with, this was one of my absolute favorite shows. I love the character development, I love the stories, I love the animation. This was like 2010, 2011 kind of time frame, and you had Peter Cullen doing the voice of Optimus Prime, you had Frank Welker doing the voice of Megatron still. Just classic characters as well as some new ones, and this was kind of a whole universe that existed for Hasbro and the various ways that they produced Transformers material, IDW doing the comics. And so I love this TV show, and I like the style of the characters, and so I've wanted to find these comic books as well that are done in the style of the TV show. And so I found this first 4-part limited series. This is a prequel story leading up to the show itself. So I found that whole thing. Super happy to find that. Then there was this other series, and I don't know how many series there were all together, but I found these couple at least on this day. This Transformers Prime Beast Hunters. Beast Hunters is the name this show took on in its third series. Not third series, in its third season. I don't really know where this particular story fits into the continuity, if it's a flashback story or if it's in parallel to what's going on in the show. I haven't read that much about it yet, but it does focus on the Dinobots. And while I didn't find all the variants that I want, I found all of the missing issues to have this complete 8-part limited series. The covers I'm really going for are these, where you have the TV show character design headshot on the front there, and I think there's like 5 or 6 of the issues have covers like this, and those are my favorite. And those are not the A covers. See, this is like the subscription cover, so I'm gonna have to continue to hunt for some of those, but for now at least I completed the limited series when I found issue 1, 2, I already had 3, but there's 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So super pumped to find that series as well. I don't have all the Transformers Prime related comics yet, but this was tremendous progress. I've never seen these in the wild before, so to see this many all at once was super exciting. And I found these pretty early on too. There were some boxes that they pulled out for the sale that were not their normal dollar bins, and so they must have pulled them out of storage or something, but that was super great to get my hands on a lot of these issues. The Transformers fun continues though. Here's a Transformers Holiday Special. I collected pretty much all the IDW era of Transformers, but some of these one-shots I didn't get when they were new, and this is one of them. So now that it's just 50 cents, happy to grab that. Also found this annual, and IDW's annuals are all square bound. They're usually like double the price of a single issue comic. You can see here $7.99. And so another type of book where I might not always get this brand new and might try to take the gamble and buy it as a back issue. So happy to find this. I think there's still one annual that's floating around out there that I don't have, but always happy when I can find these, because the numbers around these books of how many issues were sold each month is very low compared to something like a Marvel book like X-Men or Avengers or something. When I look at some of the market data on these, I think the number of issues of any given Transformers book from IDW in a month always hovered somewhere around the 5,000 to 6,000 copies. Maybe it would get up to like 8,000, but it was still always single digits of the thousands there. So there's just not a lot out there. We're not done with Transformers yet. These next few issues go back a little bit to the earlier part of IDW's run. Now, I'll admit that with Transformers, I really don't limit myself or prevent myself from double dipping. What I mean by that is I have all of the single issues. What you're seeing here, these next few issues, are variants of issues I already have, but then I also have the hardcover collected editions of these same issues. So double dipping, triple dipping, but when it's your favorite franchise, I don't have a problem with that. And some of these variants are just super cool, and at the price, you can't argue with it. So going back to, this was Transformers, the first ongoing volume that they had before it split into Robots in Disguise and More Than Meets the Eye. This is the series that kicked off after they were doing all kinds of limited series. But here's issue 22. This is the B cover, and I likely already had the A cover. Here's the B cover on issue 23 as well. Just love those headshots of Megatron and Optimus Prime. Then I also went ahead and got the full comic adaptation, or the 20th anniversary comic adaptation of the animated movie, which they did in 4 parts. I think the original one that Marvel did back in the 80s, I have that one as well. That one may have only been 3 issues, but this time they did it with 4. This was another one. I didn't get this when it first came out new, and largely because I own the movie and I own the original comic adaptation, so I figured, well, maybe I don't really need this one. But now that I saw the whole thing for 50 cents, definitely going to grab that. So that wraps up all the Transformers books. But again, super happy. I mean, look at the size of the stack of just Transformers-related issues I found at 50 cents a piece. So very excited and very happy to find that many great books at the sale. Now we're going to jump back over here to Marvel. This was a tie-in issue to this Empire event, and normally I would pick up a lot of the X-Men stuff. I only got the first issue of the X-Men tie-in. Again, I'm on a fixed budget every month for comics, so I sometimes have to pick and choose and can't always get the new things that I want to get. And so when it's a tie-in to an event, I figured, well, I'll just wait and maybe I can find them down the road. I got issue 1 because it was a particular cover I wanted new and didn't want to risk that one. But then issues 2, 3, and 4 I have pieced together as back issues, and this represents the completion of that 4-part limited series for me. So happy to have finished that one out, and now I can, add that one into the overall event story there. Now we're going to go back a little bit further. Here's Batman Legends of the Dark Knight. This was a spontaneous grab. I have 2 of the other covers from this number 1. I have there were 4. There was a pink, a green, a yellow, and a blue, maybe, were the colors that they did. And pink was one of the colors I did not have. This goes back to November of '89. So I figured, what the heck. This was one of my first Batman number 1s at that time. So I went ahead and grabbed this extra copy of it with the pink variant. Found a couple more issues of Dazzler. This is a volume that ran for 42 issues. I'm not aggressively pursuing this. This is one of those Bronze Age titles that I just keep an eye out for, and when I can find issues that I need in decent condition and at a good price, I'll go ahead and pick them up. And I figure someday I'll have the whole thing, but I'm not in any hurry to get there. So I found issue 7 and issue 20 at this particular sale. Here's another book that I've seen on numerous occasions and just never picked it up. But for 50 cents, I finally decided, what the heck, I'll get it. It's in good shape. It's a newsstand, and it's this Obnoxio the Clown versus the X-Men. I was trying to do a little reading on Obnoxio. I don't know a ton about him other than to say that he was the icon, or not the icon, the mascot of the humor magazine. Was it called Crazy? I forget now. I just read about it earlier. But he was the mascot for that. And then he hasn't had a ton of comic book appearances. He first appeared, I believe it was What If Volume 1, issue 34. And outside of this other issue, I don't know how many other appearances he has. But I love the X-Men, and I figured, well, why not? It's there. It's in good shape. I'll go ahead and get that. So if any of you have read this or know if there's any significance about Obnoxio or Why they went and decided to do Obnoxio the Clown versus the X-Men, let us know down in the comments there. But I don't know a ton about it, but figured for 50 cents, why not? Found one of the very few issues from ROM that I was looking for. This is issue 32. It's an early appearance of Rogue. I believe officially it's her 4th appearance. First appearance was in the Avengers Annual number 10, and then there's a tie for 2nd place between ROM issue 31 and then, I'm blanking on it now, Uncanny X-Men issue, is that 158? I think that's the other one that's issued. Those two are tied for 2nd place, and then this comes in at 4th place for an early appearance, but great to find that for 50 cents. Okay, many of you know that I'm working on not the full run of Generation X, but I am trying to complete all of the issues that Chris Bachalo worked on, whether that was a cover or interior art or both. And I think that as a result of this sale, I completed that run, or got real close. I'm not 100% sure. But there was 5 issues going from 17, 20, 21, 22, and then this anniversary 25th issue. All issues that Chris Bachalo worked on. His work on this title ended around issue 30. So at this point, after this sale, I'm sure there's only just a couple issues, if any, that I needed still to complete the Chris Bachalo work. But fun to find those when you can get them cheap. And most of the time you can get these issues cheap. I see these in dollar bins all the time. But again, what's better than a dollar bin? A 50-cent bin. Here's one issue from this 6-part limited series called The Kill Lock, the Artisan Wraith. This is actually a follow-up story to the original limited series called The Kill Lock. The writer, artist, the creator of this comic is Livio Ramondelli. I really like his art style when it comes to Transformers, and I did not get any of these Kill Lock issues new, but earlier this year I found a few, and it could very well have been at Pulp Comics. But I picked those up, and this was one of the holes I still have. I haven't seen any of the original Kill Lock issues in any kind of dollar bins yet, so it might take a while to find those. But I think you can read this story as a standalone. It gives you a little summary in the beginning to give you an idea of what the story is so far, so that way if you're just jumping on with this second 6-part limited series, you can go ahead and do that and not really miss too much. So one more issue down. I think I still need 1 or 2 issues to complete even this second limited series. So the hunt goes on. Here we've got an issue of Superman Batman that I have been working on. This is 86 issue volume. I had been picking up any random issue that I could find because I was hitting up some of these issues as a result of quarter sales, and I'm not going to go in order when it's just, you know, that cheap. But when they're $1, I've decided to kind of go more in order. And recently I hit the pause button and said, you know what, I should read some of the issues that I have just to make sure I like this before I continue chipping away at it. Because as fun as it is to hunt for comic books and to build out the runs, if I'm not going to like it, then I don't want to just get it for the sake of getting it. And I did have the first 6 issues, which is a story, is it Jeff Loeb and Ed McGuinness worked on. And I liked that story arc, so I said, okay, good. I'm liking the characters, I'm liking the story, so let's go ahead and continue with this. This particular one, just the one issue I picked up on this day, and the art, just something to point out, Joe Benitez does the pencils on this. It looks like this may be a one-shot story as well, because he didn't do the pencils either before or after this issue, and he is the creator of Lady Mechanica. So he's got a nice style as well. Just open this up here just to show you how that comes out in some of these pages here. Kind of definitely a scary looking Batman there. But as we flip through here, that's a cool page. There was another one as I flipped through. Oh yeah, that. The red eyes, I think, makes me think of Lady Mechanica. But pretty good art style. I don't know if he did any of the other issues in this volume. I hope he did. There's another series he worked on, actually, with Walt Simonson that I just recently started grabbing. It's called, sorry for the pause, that looks like a Todd McFarlane face there on the bottom right. My Superman looks there a little bit. Something about the, I don't know if it's the shape of the face or whatever. But he worked on a, I don't know who published it. It was called Weapon Zero. It had like a 4-part lead-up limited series, and then it kicked off with an issue 0 and ran for like 14 issues or something. But Joe Benitez did all the pencils on that, and just another one that I'm going to work on as I can find that for cheap, and written by Walt Simonson. Batman's got quite the pointy nose there. I think there's another example. Yeah, definitely more like the beaky kind of a nose there. But anyway, like the art on this, so glad to have picked that up and add that one in. Here was a book that I'm not really vested in at all. It is a minor key, technically. First appearance of, is her name, is it April Parker? A clone of May Parker. So Spider-Girl is Mayday Parker, the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane in an alternate reality. But this issue has a clone of May Parker introduced. I think her name is April. But I saw it. It was just one of those things where you're kind of caught up in the excitement of grabbing issues, and it was only 50 cents, so I grabbed it. That was just a little minor Peter Parker or Spider-Man related key to pick up. Here we got this issue of the all-new Exiles. This is actually, I think, a follow-up series. It was a one-shot called, like, the Exiles versus the X-Men. And that's a crossover between the Ultraverse and the Marvel universe, particularly through the X-Men and Juggernaut. I think in that one shot, Juggernaut winds up crossing dimensions into this other reality, and the X-Men go after him. But this was like a 12 to 14 issue series that continued after that. I don't know how many X-Men are in this one. It may just really focus on Juggernaut, but I thought it was a cool, this is a Jeff Matsuda cover, and I like his art style. And Ken Lashley works on the pencils. He does some of the covers and some of the interior art as well. So that's another series that I'm kind of casually working on as I can find these for cheap. Now we're actually going to get to some of the really the more modern, recent books that I picked up from this sale. This is Avengers Tech-On Avengers. It was like a 5 or 6 part limited series. Don't know anything about the story. Honestly, I just think the idea of the Avengers in these kind of techie armored suits is cool because it makes me think of Transformers maybe, but I have no strong interest in getting them. It's just really, if nothing else, it's a cool cover art on each of these. And each cover is pretty similar. It just features a different Avenger in their armored costume. And this one, of course, is Captain Marvel. And I have the first 2, and on the sale day, I was able to add issue 3. So still 2 or 3 issues to go. But again, another series in no particular hurry. I'll just pick them up if and when I find them for cheap. Well, I mentioned in an earlier video that I was collecting this Excalibur volume, getting it new every month, and then at some point I stopped and decided I would just finish it out as back issues as I could find them in dollar bins. And I did recently complete that earlier this year, but noticed and pointed out in the video that the copy of issue 26 that I picked up for like, it may have been 25 or 50 cents in that time around as well, was damaged, and didn't notice it until I got it home. And I posed the question, kind of thinking out loud, will I buy a replacement if I ever find one, or won't I? And of course, you know, I kind of knew I would, and here is the proof of that. So they had a copy of Excalibur 26, no damage on this one whatsoever, just 50 cents. So that was an easy decision to get that upgraded replacement, damage-free. So now my OCD can rest at ease and know that I have all of the issues of the volume and that I don't have one that's unnecessarily damaged in my collection. Love the Silver Surfer. Got into him back in volume 3 in the 80s and 90s. And I'm glad they're still doing at least limited series around Silver Surfer. This is the most recent one that has come out. Silver Surfer Rebirth was a 5-parter. And I think with this issue 2, I now have all the issues except 1 to complete this limited series. And I'm happy to say that I've seen solicited a new Silver Surfer, what's it called? Ghost something. That's coming out in 2023. Don't know anything about the story there, but glad to see at least we're getting some Silver Surfer in limited series if we don't have an ongoing featuring that character. Maybe someday we will, though. And I like that this has got Ron Lim working on it. He did this cover, and he does at least some of the interior pencils. Glad to see that, because his art was really the first one that really hooked me in that early volume. Or earlier volume. Here's another X-Men limited series tie-in issue to an event, Skipped It New. This was part of the Devil's Reign event series, and they happen to have issue 1, and it's a variant. I think, is the artist name Scott Williams? I forget his first name. But you can see his kind of a cool, unique signature down there in the bottom. But they had this issue 1, so I grabbed that, and you will see in a future haul that I have since picked up issues 2 and 3. So I now have that complete limited series as well. Here's issue 3 from the current volume of Marauders. I collected new this title in the first volume that wrapped up at like issue 27, and I only got issue number 1 of volume 2 as a new comic. The others I've just been getting as back issues, so up to issue 3 now. I think I can't remember what issue they're currently on. It's somewhere around like 7 or 8 or something like that, but I'll continue to chip away at this in the dollar bins. If it starts to seem like something that's risky, I'll start getting it new again, but for now, it seems like there's ample supply out there. I should be able to piece this together in the dollar bins like I've been doing so far. One more X-Men related book here. This is part 5 of a 5-part limited series, The Trial of Magneto. I didn't read very positive things about this story, so I actually stopped getting these new and finished it out now finally just as back issues. So I still have to read it, and I'll make that determination myself. But yeah, I don't think it got really popular. It wasn't very well received, so we'll see. But I do like to fill out the story of what's going on with the X-Men, so happy now to complete this so I can at least read it and see what was going on. And I imagine that the upcoming Scarlet Witch ongoing series that's about to kick off in the next couple months probably spins out of this story as well, so we'll see. Found a few more issues of the current volume of Captain Marvel. I have decided, well, I haven't decided, I wasn't collecting this new every month. It was something I jumped on to later, and so though I'm getting it new now, I've got a lot of holes I'm going back and I'm trying to fill in, but I'm only looking to find them or add them to my collection when I can find them cheap, 50 cents, $1, those kind of things. I don't have issue 1, which is pricier. I don't have issue 8, which is pricier. And I don't know if I'll ever find those in the dollar bins or not. I will wait and hold out for those. In the meantime, I'll piece together all the other issues that I can from dollar bins. And I know that in like May of 2023, there is the first volume omnibus that's coming out from this volume of Captain Marvel, and it's going to have the first 28 issues plus the Star limited series, and then Captain Marvel The End, which is a one-shot, I believe. And thankfully, all the holes that I have left are found in that range of issues 1 to 28. So if that weren't reason enough, I already figured I was probably going to get that omnibus anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and get the omnibus, and then that'll also take the pressure off of, you know, how long it'll take me to piece together the holes that I still have in this run, so that I can be current on reading all the stories, not just have the current stuff that I'm reading. But happy to have found at least these 3 issues, and especially like this lower number, issue 6 here. These are getting harder and harder to find in the dollar bins. Seeing more of the things later in her volume, but not the stuff lower down there. All right, just about done here. And from a modern book perspective, I would say 3 of these last 4 books are the ones I'm most excited to have found. They are from the first Sean Murphy Batman series, simply called Batman White Knight. I did not read any of these when they came out. I didn't start even paying attention to it until it was the second limited series called Batman Curse of the White Knight, and really loved his character designs. I like the world he's building, and it's continuing to be built out because there's been the Harley Quinn series that was done after this. It was the 3rd one, and then now they're currently in the middle of the Batman Beyond the White Knight. So it's been fun to jump onto that train and be collecting those issues, but I'm still working on going back and collecting these, and this first limited series are the hardest ones to find. But at the sale, they had 3 of the 4 issues that I still needed in this limited series. Super excited, especially to find like number 1, because prior to now, I think I only had a Batman Day reprint, which is this story, but this cover, which is a little confusing, I'll admit. But now I have first printing of issues 1, 2, and 3. Already have 5 through 8, so now I just have issue 4, and I'll have this complete limited series, and then I have all the others already, so now I can stay current with those. So super happy to find those. And then the other one I picked up just because I'm a completionist is this one here, written by Sean Murphy. Klaus Janson does the pencils, it looks like, and this is a one-shot Batman White Knight presents Von Freeze, and that's just a great Von Freeze cover there. And again, for 50 cents, and because I'm trying to build out his world of his Batman universe, I was going to go ahead and add that. So looking forward to giving that one a read as well. But lots of great stuff in this haul, from Bronze Age, Copper Age, Modern Age, run builders, one-shots, ashcans, variants, all kinds of goodness, all for 50 cents a piece at this day at Pulp Comics and Games. All right. That's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap up this 50-cent haul from Pulp Comics and Games. I do hope you saw something that you liked, but how about you? How have things been going for you on your own comic adventures? Are you working on any of these titles or limited series, variants, one-shots? Let us know down below. Now, if you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to stop, I have hand-selected a couple videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.